Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Let's get right into it here. I don't have much else to say other than this might be slightly Dreamcast heavy, but we'll see. Without further ado, here are my favorite games of the year 2000. First, some honorable mentions. MDK2 is a third-person shooter with an interesting visual aesthetic that combines slick sci-fi with cartoony characters as well. The game is funny at times too, and I'll always remember it for one thing the most. It has an unusual control scheme that actually works. An enjoyable shooter with some unexpected personality to boot. Cannon Spike is probably the best Capcom game you never hear about, for a few reasons. It was only released in the arcades and for the Sega Dreamcast. It also didn't seem to have much of a release in general, and as a result, the Dreamcast disc costs hundreds of dollars to this day. Finally, Capcom never puts it up for sale digitally. I have no idea why they don't have an interest in making this game more widely available. Maybe there's a licensing issue I'm not aware of. The gameplay is unique though. It's a great blend that reminds you of arena shooters, twin stick shooters, and shmups, all while controlling a fun selection of Capcom characters as well. I can't rate this one too highly because I've never owned it and only briefly played a friend's copy. This game is simple, unique fun though, with recognizable characters. I wish more people could play it. There really isn't another game like it. Typing of the Dead is honestly a fun concept. Type the words to shoot the zombies. Play a video game while honing a real-life skill. You can't really spend your time much better than that. The only problem with this game is the Dreamcast keyboard is pretty bad. The keys have a weird sponginess, and no matter how I position it in my lap or on a table, my wrists start hurting almost immediately during play. I don't think there's an easy alternative way to play this version of the game either. Still, it's a super unique game for its time that uses a console peripheral you don't see every day. I'm including this game and House of the Dead 2 in this entry, since I love that game to death as well, but old light gun games have too many practical limitations for me these days. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 needs no introduction. The series deservedly took the gaming world by storm, and to this day, the early entries are hard to criticize. The only reason I don't have this higher is that I only rented it once and then later experienced it fully in the HD collection on PS4. It's a fantastic game though, and I don't really have any notes. I just came around to it way too late. An absolute classic. The last honorable mention is a game that some may expect to be higher given how much I love the Dreamcast. Jet Set Radio was a great example of why it was worth it to be a Sega fan who never lost faith in their hardware. They were cranking out genuinely unique software that was consistently well received, just like this. My issue with Jet Set Radio is that I can't stand playing it today. While I totally understand the rollerblading concept and why it controls the way that it does, you feel like you're trying to steer a tugboat for most of the game. It is so very slow. The momentum sucks, and it's way too easy to accidentally grind to a halt or begin an animation you didn't want to do. These days, even trying to get through the tutorial was so frustrating. Obviously, tagging is a central part of the game, not skating, but Tony Hawk, this ain't. On the other hand, this game probably has the most unique soundtrack I've ever heard. The visuals and style are exceptional, and the gameplay was totally new and a lot of fun. I could make the argument that this was a minor milestone in gaming. I just don't think it plays well at all by current standards. Now we're getting into my true top 10 of the year 2000. We kick it off proper with Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, which is the only game I've played in the series. I have no connection to the story or characters, but the plot still kept me interested. More importantly, I liked the puzzles in this game, and the combat and soul reaving were fun. One big problem this game has is the god-awful camera. As 3D games became more ambitious around this time, the camera work struggled to keep up. It's never more apparent with this game's, which is probably the only one I've ever gotten visibly frustrated with. Still, you feel like a badass here, and the developers made sure to pack this with enough to keep your brain working and your interest high. A very successful action game, and I'm looking forward to playing the remaster. Resident Evil Code Veronica coming to the Dreamcast before the PlayStation 2 was very notable for me. Third-party games were a problem on the Sega Saturn, and a big reason PlayStation became one of the kings of gaming hardware. Code Veronica as a temporary Dreamcast exclusive meant that Sega was trying to correct this problem and draw more eyes to their system. Anyways, I think it's a great entry in the series. A lot of people write this one off because of its cheesy dialogue and voice acting. which I wouldn't say that's invalid, but I would also say it's an old Resident Evil game. They were all cheesy with bad voice acting. I thought this was part of the charm. Those things are definitely pronounced in Code Veronica, but it's a game that never gets its due when you see people ranking the entire series. I think it's of about the same quality as the other early Resident Evil games, and it's definitely one of my favorites from the year 2000. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was a sensory delight for anyone that enjoyed fighting games or comic books. Capcom had already delivered games like Marvel Superheroes and X-Men Children of the Atom, so it was time to combine everything they did well in the fighting game space. The result is some of the most memorable time I've spent with a Capcom fighter. The roster is insane, basically including a full Street Fighter roster, a slew of Marvel characters, and a list of other Capcom favorites like Strider and Mega Man. The game is light on modes, but it holds a special place for me not only for the gameplay, but the sheer number of unlockables. You can stay busy for a long time with this game, and I think it might be the best reminder of a time when costumes and new stages didn't cost extra. You just played the game you already paid for and unlocked things while you enjoyed yourself along the way. This is a banger of a fighting game that's among the all-time greats for me. So hear me out on this one. Have you ever played a great fishing game? If you haven't, you're probably very confused right now. If you have, then you might have an inkling why I love Sega Marine Fishing. There's far more simulation-driven fishing games out there that are also good, but I chose Marine Fishing because of how insanely fun it is. Sega Bass Fishing 1 and 2 are also quality games, and they have tournament modes which this one does not. However, Marine Fishing makes up for the lack of modes with one great one. Original mode. You can simply play arcade mode, which is essentially a time trial, but original mode is where the magic happens. You catch fish, you unlock items and stages and all kinds of things to put in your giant aquarium. That's right, you have a zoo-sized aquarium that can house every fish, sea creature, rock, sunken ship, and anything else you unlock while free fishing. If you haven't noticed yet, many games from this era didn't have tons of different modes like we're used to now. That makes games like this all the more impressive though. You don't need 15 different ways to play a game. The game just needs to be fun and have a goal for you. In this case, I've spent countless hours unlocking things for my aquarium, and along with outfitting my fisherman in his gear, the game has given me plenty to do as a result. Games don't always need all the frills and fluff. Just make sure I enjoy myself and let me see my progress. Sega Marine Fishing is great solo and excels even more as a party game. Just make sure those fishing controllers stay in working order. There's not too many of them left out there. I think everyone that has a favorite Street Fighter game is more or less just choosing the one that feels the most right to them. For me, it's Street Fighter Alpha 3, which is the culmination of everything Capcom had built, starting with Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo. This game is fast, looks great, and has an awesome roster, but it also feels like a natural progression of the series. Now, this is a game that does have a decent number of modes, especially with a friend, but World Tour is really where it's at. You travel to different spots on the globe, taking on all challengers. Sometimes you'll fight with certain advantages or disadvantages, and sometimes you'll even fight multiple characters at the same time. All the while, you level up and gain buffs as well. I love the way this game plays and seeing what challenges World Tour will throw at me. My quintessential Street Fighter game, right here. The next game is more arcadey fun with Crazy Taxi. What's really cool about this game is that it's still pretty popular and very playable today, but there still aren't that many games like it. Pick up customers, tear ass through town, and get them to their destination as fast as possible. A simple premise leads to incredible hijinks as you blast through parking lots, swerve to avoid other cars, and generally ignore the rules of the road to save time. The maps are fairly large for the time, and there are also fun mini-games that help you improve as a driver while also completing challenges. Once you get the hang of this game, it's like riding a bike. Recording this footage was an absolute treat, and this is a game you keep playing for no other reason than the fact that you're having a really good time. Crazy Taxi is another Sega staple that proves you really don't need a ton of content to create a game people will play over and over and over. Picture the perfect tennis game in terms of how it would perform and play. That's what Virtua Tennis is. Nothing else really needs to be touched. The game is incredibly simple to pick up, but the gameplay also makes total sense if you want something a bit more realistic. Needless to say, this game is incredibly intuitive. You'll understand everything you need to know after a couple of volleys. Your character being in the right place to hit the ball effectively is where the real game lies, which is also simple to understand and get the hang of. The World Circuit mode is awesome, including a shop to outfit and upgrade your character, matches all around the world, and also fun training sessions which earn you money. Most of all, the game just does a fantastic job of emulating the cat and mouse nature of tennis, where both players are constantly trying to fool their opponent into getting out of position. As you progress, you really feel it when a big match is coming up or if you're in the middle of a key set. I don't have much interest in real-life tennis, but this game helped me appreciate it so much more, and most importantly, it's fun as hell and easily accessible. This is an all-time classic video game, in my opinion. Okay, I'm sure many of you are cringing now seeing another sports game on the list, but I'll be brief here. When Sega chose Visual Concepts to make their Dreamcast sports games, they were laughed at by game executives of all people. Turns out their sports games were very well made and successful, and NFL 2K1 is a shining example. To this day, these games are more fun to play than Madden, period. With a few quality of life improvements, I don't think there's anything Madden does better, honestly. I have full confidence that if this game were transplanted into 2026 and updated accordingly, many Madden diehards would switch over easily. The game feels good and doesn't bog you down with features nobody wants or needs. The franchise mode is excellent and has a fantasy draft option, which many games didn't implement for some strange reason. I've played dozens of seasons, solo and with friends. It's the best football series ever, and 2K1 is where it really started to gain momentum, and it deserves to be here on this list. As we approach number 1, first we have Capcom vs. SNK. Now, I don't know if I've ever smiled during a game more than this one. The character roster needs no introduction. If you enjoy Street Fighter, Fatal Fury, World Heroes, or any other big fighting property these companies were putting out, your character is probably here. The stages are often incredibly designed from a visual standpoint, often making references to previous games that they're based on. Many characters from different games will also interact with each other briefly before a match starts. It's an incredible package that plays extremely well too, and you can select from 2 different attack meters based on which games you prefer the style of. Much like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, much of the fun lies in teaming up characters in unusual combinations, which adds replay value as well. This is another fighting game that boasts a healthy number of unlockables too. The game is fast, fun, and provides a ton of variety if you're willing to experiment with different characters. There's also a sequel to this game, but it's a testament to the original that I just don't care. I've never played the sequel because I don't need to. Capcom vs. SNK is an awesome celebration of the best 2D fighters in gaming history, and that's plenty for me. So here we are at number 1, and yes, it is Shenmue. I don't know if there's a more love it or hate it game that's out there. At the very least, if you haven't played it, you kind of had to be there, I think. This is a tough game to assess now that it's been 26 years since its release. All I can say is that this kind of gameplay was not typical back in the year 2000. There just weren't many games that let you wander and explore a living, breathing town in full 3D. The Japanese neighborhood setting just works so well for this, and it really helps the game and the series later as you move on to busier locales. You really feel like Ryo is seeing more and more of the world and coming of age right in front of your eyes. The voice acting is bad, but much like Silent Hill 2, I think it has its charm. I wouldn't want re-recordings here and would just prefer the preservation of the clunky original stuff. The love story touched me in this game too, which is pretty rare for me. With contemporary games perfecting open world gaming since, all I can say is that Shenmue walked so those games could run. The combat is clunky, the dialogue is weird, and the story is just okay, but you feel like you're in a real community exploring a very personal mystery. Let's be real, it's also crazy fun to buy toy capsules and try to collect them all, or buy cans of soda to try and win a prize, as simple as it may sound. Shenmue is definitely a game you enjoy more if you'd already played it on release. You have to squint pretty hard these days to understand why it's a milestone, but it is. It's strange that considering this is my top game of the year 2000, I can't fully recommend that you play it. If you appreciate gaming history, you'll dig it, but it has definitely aged. Countless games have taken cues and influence from it though, and its simple but endearing game world will always hold a special place for me. So those are my top games from the year 2000. I'm looking forward to doing other years in the future. Should I go backwards in time or forwards? Do you have a particular year that you want me to cover? Let me know in the comments as well as what you think of these games. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.